Good morning, one and all. Well, yesterday Steinberg gave us an early Christmas present in that they released a Cubase 9 Pro, and in this short video I just want to have a really quick initial look at what it means for people like you and me, film and television composers and people like that. And like most Christmas presents, like most Christmas days, there was some stuff we didn't expect and some stuff we expected we didn't get. But first of all, the actual installation process was really straightforward. It's a 2.8 gigabyte download and requires 14 gigabytes of space to install. Here it is down in the dock. Also very encouraging thus far, it seems that I can run Cubase 9 and Cubase 8 on the same machine. Now, you may notice instantly, actually it's already been updated, and when you do the installation, it'll offer you a 500 megabyte download to go up to 9.0.1. That's encouraging because it means that Steinberg are really on the case in terms of sorting out bugs and things like that, and that if they're turning out updates that quickly, that's really good. When you first open it up, some people are saying that they're not seeing their recent projects. I'm not having that problem at all. Everything came up. The only thing which I immediately bumped into a problem was it's an entirely 64-bit version of Cubase, and that means, and also it requires on a Mac 10.11, not 10.10, and one of my studios runs on 10.10, so that was curtains for that. This one runs on 10.11, so I've got it up and running. So let's just take a project from last summer, because this is what you want to know. Can I upgrade? Will my project still load? The answer, for me, and I didn't, normally the advice is don't, under any circumstances, upgrade in the middle of a project, but on your behalf I decided, okay, I'll just leap in and show them what happens. And the answer is it's fine, or it is for me. The big one, though, is that any 32-bit plugins you have won't work anymore. Not at all, only 64-bit plugins. And JBridge, which is one of the big wrappers which takes 32-bit plugins and make them look like 64-bit plugins, doesn't currently work with Cubase 9. So if you have some much loved old plugins which are part of your setup, then you may well be better off waiting until things have settled down a bit. But okay, it's nearly there. It's loading up. I mean, this is a big setup. This has got whatever it is, 700 tracks or something, and it's linking up to. Here you go. Here's an example. So the very wonderful Silent, which is a 32-bit plugin, won't load. But that's okay, because that's the only one. Now, okay, here it comes. So here is a, as I say, project I was doing in last summer, and it all loads up, and it runs absolutely fine. Now, the first thing you'll notice, it looks very similar. I mean, the instrument rack over here looks a bit unusual, but if you double-click on a part, this is where it starts getting interesting. Down the bottom here, what it does, rather than opening up a separate window, it opens up a little panel down the bottom here, which can be either an editor like this. You can have the mix console down the bottom, and do you see this sampler control thing? That's really cool. Okay, I'll show you that in a moment. So it's really designed to work all in one window. So for laptop warriors, this is a really good thing. This is much, much more organized. For film people who tend to have multiple monitors, it's not such a big deal, but I still find this useful because I can go into the editor and I can look at one part much more easily while I'm playing another and things along those lines. Also, the transport bar is integrated down the bottom here now. It looks more simple, but look, see these little dots? You can drag it out. All your other favorite bits are there. You can make it bigger or smaller. It's very well designed, this. I really like this bit down the bottom. So, because actually the floating transport bar seemed like such a good idea, but actually it was always floating in the wrong place. I don't know, why, get out the way, I can't see myself, or whatever. So all that looks fine. It's all good. Now, let's show you one of the best of the new toys. Okay, so let's just go to a blank bit up here, bar 200. Right, they've introduced, it does feel very much as though it's aimed at dance people. If you go into Add Track, Sampler Track, click on that, we'll call it Tony. Okay, up comes a sampler track. Now what you can do with this, do you see this nice drag and drop bit here? If you take a WAV file and you just drop it in, you can now play it like that. So this is very much aimed at people who are used to FL Studio because it allows you to do all those cool and funky things which FL people have been able to do for ages. And if you play some stuff in, okay, then you find it, then you double click on it, up comes the editor, okay, and then you can use the pen tool to go. So if we set it to snap, where's the snap thing? There's the snap thing, snap to grid, grids are 64. Okay, so it makes grid 32, 32. Okay, let's get rid of those, and then you can paint stuff in. Well, not doing a very good job of this, but you see the principle. Okay, now. That's a bit, obviously that's a bit enough, but you can see the potential for this in terms of sound design and things like that. And sound design is, of course, where almost anybody in film and television is getting involved in sound design. And that's, quick commercial, that's why we produced two really excellent sound design courses, Sound Design Pro and Sound Design Essentials, both of which are done in Cubase. So if you want to follow a top EDM artist and trailer composer, Constantine Pope, see how he does his funky stuff, see all those cool effects, then go to the website and sign up for a completely free trial for our sound design course. Now, other things which I hoped were under the tree and are not, are any change to video. You still can't export a video file directly from Cubase, unlike DP, Pro Tools, Logic, everybody else. You still have to do this replace audio and video file thing. The reason that's a real pain is, suppose I have a whole reel as a video file, and I just want to export the first cue. I want to put my range markers there, and say just export 1.5 minutes of this 20-minute film. I can't do that. If I want to start my video export before the video starts, I can't do that. So I have to go into Final Cut Pro and do it that way, and that is a really big pain. Because I deal largely in sort of high volume, fast turnover television, I think that this loses me about an hour a week. And that's 50 hours a year. 50 hours a year I could learn to speak conversational Swahili. So if Steinberg could possibly implement export video straight from the timeline, I could be asking for a cup of coffee in Nairobi in Swahili. That is how big a deal it is. The other thing which has not happened, which will irritate film people. Okay, here are my stems. The stems are how most of us deliver our music to our clients. It's 4 files, or 6 files, or 8 files, or whatever. I need to make sure that when I select those 4 files, I am sending exactly those 4 files to the client, not 4 very similarly named files. So it would have been very nice to be able to right-click, or to save as, or to go to the pool and export. You see, because look, I've got numerous versions of each of these. Which is the right one? Actually, what I have to do is go into the audio file and try and work out which is which. What I normally do is I take them all, I go Shift-Alt-B, and I rebounce them, and then I go into the audio file and I look at the most recent. But this is a slightly inaccurate thing, and it is imperative that I get the correct files to send to the client. And currently I can't do that. And that is a disappointment. But there are one or two other things which people have said, oh, it's a shame we didn't have more of that. In the mixer, the sends, because of the way, okay, you can have up to 8 sends now, whereas it was 6 before. That's still not very many. And because of the way Cubase deals with sidechaining, that's quite a big deal, particularly to more dancey people. Because Cubase uses sidechaining as you have to have it as each sidechain is a target, so it has to be specifically sent from a track, whereas a lot of sequencers will use one sidechain bus as a source. It sounds complicated, but people are sort of, oh, only 8, we sort of hoped we were going to get loads and loads and loads. Okay, anyway, so for me, just summing up this very brief introduction to Cubase, it's a work in progress. Does it feel like? It feels like something which has been done largely aiming at more dance-orientated people and people working on laptops, because there's a whole load of groove things which I haven't touched on. The sampler track, trying to sort of steal a march on the FL Studio people. There's a lot of stuff in there which will make dance production, EDM, particularly on a single screen, much, much easier. For those of us in the film world, the lack of any development on the video side is a very big disappointment, but there are rumors that Steinberg are changing the video engine they use, and there's going to be a 0.1 update sometime in the new year. So let's hope that and if I was doing that, I wouldn't add loads of new video features to an old engine. I can see that would be a complete waste of time. So if they are doing that, it'd be very nice to have some indication that's the case, and so that we can get excited for January or February or whenever it's going to be. And there are one or two other workflow things which I thought, oh, it's a shame it didn't happen. And so it's definitely not revolutionary for me in terms of, I'm sure that sampler track will come in incredibly useful. Multiple marker tracks might well become useful. I haven't worked out how I'd use those yet, but that's another thing I can have. I'm not limited to just one marker track. And there is some updates to some of the plugins and all kinds of other bits and pieces. It's more evolution than revolution. I have upgraded this one studio, and I've been really surprised by how smoothly that's gone. I've lost one or two old friends along the way in terms of 32-bit plugins, but I suspect that some of the bridging software, people like 32 Lives and JBridge, will become compatible with this sooner rather than later, and then off you go. So if you're thinking of upgrading, I think the advice still has to remain, really be cautious. If you're in the middle of a really big time-sensitive project, don't do it. Wait until Christmas or something when you've got a few days to sort things out if it goes wrong. But thus far, I have found projects like this, which are, large projects which I did like 6 months ago, load fine, no problem, and I can still run Cubase 8, though it may well turn out, and normally if you run both ones, you'll find after a few days, oh, there's something there which doesn't work anymore because they share a common file, and now that common file is Cubase 9. Anyway, you'll see a lot more of this going on. If you want to if you're new to the world of film scoring, and we've got a fantastic little 10-page guide, which I think you will really enjoy. There's a link to it just underneath this. It just gets you going. It shows you how to get up and running. It walks you through the basic workflow. It's completely free, and just request the document, and it'll come straight to your inbox. Do join us again for more of these. If you're interested in any of our courses, there's free trials available now. Just pop over to the website, sign up, and you can be learning within the next hour, you can be starting your career as a film composer. Anyway, hope that was helpful for you, and I look forward to catching up with you again very soon.